Is a guy who was fired from his last job and who's been away from coaching for 5 years the right guy to be USC's next defensive coordinator? Marvin and I, we're going to talk about that.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. Welcome back to Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is also the #1 sports podcast network. So whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, you pick the platform. This show is going to be free. This show will always appreciate your support. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On USC. I'm your host, Marc Kulkin, credentialed media member who follows USC, also writes for WeAreSC.com. That's MVP3 Marvin Powell III, former Trojan fullback and NFL veteran who also talks college and NFL on various podcast shows. Remind me, Marvin, at the end of the show so you can promote where you're going to be the rest of the week as well. Mm-hmm. All right, Marvin, USC has still not announced its next defensive coordinator yet. And I'm starting to get a little concerned that the longer this whole Mike Eckler smoke kind of lingers in the air and the wind, it's going to start to dissipate. And that means less likely that he's coming to be USC's special teams savior. The latest gossip, Gary Patterson, former TCU head coach, who was just selected to the College Football Hall of Fame last week, has been in talks with USC to be their next defensive coordinator. I mentioned his name over a week ago on the show. However, national guys from On3 are starting to float it out there. The last time Gary Patterson coached, he was, wait for it, TCU's head coach. That was back in 2021. He was fired after that gig. He hasn't coached in 5 years. Is this the right guy to fix USC's defense? I mean, he's the guy known for the 4-2-5. He invented it, allegedly.
Right. Yeah, he gets credit for that. And, as you said, College Football Hall of Fame. And, he was coach of the year, I think national coach of the year. And when he was coaching at TCU, this is before the NIL, he had good teams. They had, at least competitive or respectable teams, no doubt about it, especially when he had, I think it was Boykin as his quarterback. This is college football is driven by the quarterback, just like in the NFL or high school. So if you have a guy back there, then you have a chance. And they had a guy back there. But my concern is just, again, as you said, he hasn't coached in 5 years. And when I think about our players, and I think about the players on our staff, and I think about, how important it is to have relationships and how important it is just to be in tune with our culture. And I think about, and I said to you before, we don't need a big name. We don't need that. What we need is a home run pick. I'm thinking to myself, if we're hiring outside the building, no offense to Gary Patterson, who is accomplished, but I would think that there are other names other guys, other options that might be younger, that might be fresher, that might, have been in the loop and not out of the game for so long. I don't doubt this guy can get up on the board and draw up a defense. I don't doubt that he can, get up there and look at Oregon's offense and determine schematically how we should attack it or whatever it may be. I'm just wondering, if this guy has the energy, has the juice, has the cachet to come into that building and really motivate our guys, to get these guys going. And that's my concern. I would think if you're looking at, we started out with the guy from Texas, Pete Kwiatkowski.
Yeah.
Right. Which I thought at the time, was a home run hire just based on his resume, based on the fact that he's been coaching in college football. He's been in Texas where he's had good defenses this year, obviously. I think more so because of their offense, the defense was kind of thrown out of whack. But I thought there were other names that were out there that just made a lot of sense. To me, this is almost, I don't want to say it's a safe choice, but it is. I think it's too safe of a choice. I don't know if it's it. And again, the guy has his own resume. I respect him. If he comes to USC, I am going to be pro Gary Patterson. Okay?
Absolutely, of course.
But at this point, at this early in the game, where we have NFL playoffs about to end. Lincoln's already dragged this thing out. So we're already past the transfer portal window. So if this is the best that he thinks we can do outside the building, then, it's one of those things where I think it makes fans and alums even more curious as to what the heck's going on in Lincoln's mind. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at this, to be honest with you.
No, and you're absolutely right. I see where you're going with this. And I know you've got some different thoughts on the situation. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But I go back to this. Lincoln Riley and Gary Patterson have a previous relationship. They know each other from the Big 12. So I hear you. This is a safe choice because now Lincoln Riley say, all right, you know what? I'm bringing a guy from the Big 12. He's familiar with how I like to run an offense, which is similar to a lot of those Big 12 offenses. He can, coach a complementary type of defense. And I don't want to say he's more of a yes man, but he starts to fall into that category of, well, Lincoln Riley is going to be in charge of the offense. We're going to keep the same defense we're running, the guys who are already here on staff. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to kind of clean it up, fix it, teach these old, I'm the old dog who knows how to teach the tricks type of thing. Again, why has he been away from coaching for 5 years? If he still wants to coach, why hasn't anybody else approached him?
Mark, I've said before, this is a destination job. You're in LA. It's USC. You're getting the #1 recruiting class in the nation, which is loaded with defensive players. We have very good defensive players coming back. And for, you need people who really are going to inspire these young kids, motivate these young kids. Connect with these young kids and really get them going. I have no doubt that Gary, at his time at TCU and wherever he's been an analyst at, that he's had connections and he's been able to do, well to keep a job. But you're right. When you're that good, if you're supposed to be that good in premier coach, then you would think the NFL and Alabama and Notre Dame and Texas and these schools are coming after you. How many jobs has he been offered as a DC in the last 5 years? That's what I want to know.
I don't know how many jobs he's been offered.
How many jobs has he turned down? Did he turn down schools?
I know he served a year as an analyst at Baylor, and he did the same thing in the same capacity at Texas for a year. That's been his coaching career since TCU, other than being elected into the College Football Hall of Fame, which, that's on the whole big picture that he's had over his coaching career. But again, you're raising the question. I'm raising the question. Why isn't he coaching somewhere right now as a defensive coordinator?
Right. And he may have a story. He may have been offered jobs behind the scenes. We don't know. He has a family situation, wants to stay in a certain city because of his mom, his wife, his kids, whatever. I don't know. There may be a story. And again, the guy has a track record from back in the day. But it's just, in my heart, I feel like USC can do more. I feel like we can do more than that. I do. And this is, to me, it wouldn't be a home run hire. It wouldn't. It would be too safe, and we don't need that going into year 5. We need a guy that it makes sense. It makes sense. So
for me, it's all about setting an expectation level, and this is why I hate to use the word expectation, because when you have an expectation and you don't get it, it's a bigger letdown than if you didn't expect anything at all.
Right.
So Lincoln Riley is always talking about this is the mecca of college football. We have people who want to coach here. All right, I agree. USC is the mecca of college football. So that line should be wrapping around the block where you're just interviewing one guy after another saying, all right, I've got too many guys on my plate. Let's start narrowing it down now. And so the fan base is like, all right, we're going for this big home run hire like you're talking about, what you're alluding to. And then all of a sudden, oh, I know Gary Patterson. He's my friend. He'll do it for me. It's that type of atmosphere that gets set up. At this point, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Mike Eckler, get your butt over here. You will be the defensive coordinator. You will also be in charge of special teams, and you'll have some say with the linebacker. Just like you said, there's other guys who are out there that I think would be more energetic in the situation.
These kids, I don't think they really listen. It's great that, College Football Hall of Fame. I respect it. My dad is there, so it's a very special place. I get it. To be amongst that group, you have to be a certain caliber person in what you do, and I get that. And listen, again, people, I respect Patterson. I remember when he was coaching at TCU, but that was then, and a part of me feels like this is just an outdated move. You know what I'm saying? I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't like it. And I just don't think this is the move for USC, especially when you have other people out there who we'll get into in the second segment that I think just make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, especially based on the mistakes that USC has made in the past. And I'll get into that as well. But these players if you go in there and tell them, yeah, I was the national coach of the year, 10 years ago, and I made the College Football Hall of Fame, to guys who are 18, 19 years old, those trophies sound cool, but they don't really resonate like that, especially when there's no connection to them. There's no connection to that person. So, again, a veteran coach who hasn't coached in 5 years, essentially, who back in the day, again, in this new era of college football, 5 years was a long time ago. Because 5 years ago,
it's a new era.
Yeah, it was
a new era.
So it's just I'm not feeling that. That's just that doesn't really motivate me. But again, there's no contradiction here. If he's the guy, if they choose him, then because I'm all in on my team, on my school, I'm gonna go all in on Gary. So it's gonna be Gary, and he has 1 year to do it, right? Because we all acknowledge this is Lincoln's year. This is the year he has to make the home run hire, because going into year 5 of the Lincoln Riley experience, we need to see something that's relevant. Again, the big picture for us is national championship. That's what we're looking for. That's what we were looking at. It's been 20 years, but that's what people are focused on. And when you look at the commitment we made financially, that Jen has made, that Carol Holt has made,
it's boosters have made.
Exactly. Our alums, it's time to show something. So, I made my point in how I feel.
No, it's very clearly. And this we'll segue into this next segment this way. You talk about having younger guys and other guys out there who might be a better fit. I think one of the things that has maybe hamstrung and limited Coach Riley with getting his next defensive coordinator is I don't want to say he's forcing, but he wants to retain his current assistant coaches on the defensive side of the ball. And so that might be limiting your pool of candidates out there that are available, including a guy like Pete Kwiatkowski. With that said, I want to get your thoughts on the defensive coordinator situation, because we were talking off camera before we started, and you said you got to change your heart. You're seeing things a little bit differently. When we come back, you're going to tell everybody what you're thinking. That's coming up next.
Right.
The college football playoff is here. The championship game, Miami, Indiana. Who do you got? FanDuel's giving all their customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users are getting a profit boost waiting for them in that app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. You can ride with the favorite. Indiana, I think they're like an 8.5, 9-point favorite going into this game. And when you think a team's going to control the matchup, place your money there. You can take a shot at the underdog if you feel an upset's coming. Or you can try and build a parlay around the players and the moments you think will decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, check this out. FanDuel pays out instantly. And that's perfect for the college football playoff. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoffs long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Thank you again for helping make Locked On US your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. This is for all my everydayers who listen to the Locked On USC show on their favorite podcast platform. Since you already listen every day, you live USC every day, level up, go ad free. You can join the Everydayer Club today, and you're going to get Locked On USC with no interruptions. You're going to get the members only Discord access, and you're going to get more than that. And you can get it all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. For more information, see the link in the show's description page. All right, Marvin, you were telling me I don't want to say you're having second thoughts, but maybe you're looking at things from a different perspective. Tell the Locked On USC family your thoughts on USC's next defensive coordinator. Not necessarily who it should be, but what Coach Riley should be looking for.
Okay. For Coach Riley, his #1 job is to bring in the right people, players and staff, and develop them so that they can evolve and grow into being the best they can be. All right. You look at the Pete Carroll years, okay? He had Sark, he had Lane, he had Orgeron, he had a few guys. These guys have all gone on to have success, okay? Pete Carroll did a great job, in spite of what people may say about any issues we had. He did a great job of bringing in the right people, the right culture, and these guys have all gone on to do well. To me, there is no doubt that Lincoln Riley needs to continue to prove that he's building the right culture and that he's bringing in the right people. Now, you notice, they're saying we don't want to lose any staff on defense, okay? Because we like those hires. We like them for what they're doing in regards to recruiting, and we have seen some development, obviously, with some of our players. The number one person that Lincoln Riley should be looking at, that he needs to promote to defensive coordinator, is Henny. And I wasn't always on that page. I was not always on that page at all. But what he reminds me of that I'm afraid of is Orgeron. Remember when Orgeron was the interim coach? Orgeron, I played offense. Ed Orgeron coached defense, but he was on the staff when I was at USC. And
those players would have ran through a wall for him.
100%. Okay. And what that reminds me of, when you say would have ran through a wall from him, a day before the TCU game, Danton Lynn announces he's out. Okay. Henny has one day to prep or do whatever as a defensive coordinator, even though I'm sure they were already prepping for that. All right. I was really pissed off at the fact that we lost to TCU. More importantly, how we lost. But before that 3rd and 20, all I was saying to myself is these guys are flying around. I could, especially in that first, and we missed some tackles, but these guys were flying around playing inspired defense. We have never seen that this year like that. Okay. Danton was an X and O's guy. I think he's a smart guy. Danton took us from being ranked 100 to being ranked in the 40s. So he was absolutely solid for us. Okay. But I thought he was a low energy guy. I don't feel like he really, I don't know how much these guys were really, willing to go to war for this guy. Okay. When they found out Henny was the man, when they found out Henny was going to be the DC, Desmond Stevens, who I've been on all year, okay? All year I've been on this guy. This kid looked like an All-American at times in that game. I've never seen this kid was playing sideline to sideline, was coming downhill. He was playing inspired football. Not just him, okay? What that tells me is that these guys really, really believe in Henny. They want Henny, and if he's in there, he can elevate their play. Okay, we celebrated Henny when he came here. We celebrated him like he was the greatest assistant that we've ever hired at USC. That's really what it was, if you remember that. Okay, everything related to him and the LA Rams and Aaron Donald, all that stuff. Okay, now that we've lost Danton Lynn and Henny's in the position where he's interviewed for the position, we got to go ahead and promote him. The players love him. We saw them playing inspired football. If Lincoln already says he loves our staff, so we have a support staff around Henny, the guys that Lincoln wants to retain, okay? Lincoln needs to prove that this culture is right and that he's hiring the right guys by hiring from within. Henny's been in the system now for a year or so. He's had an opportunity to do it in the NFL, do it with us, and I think for USC, what we don't want is a situation where, like with Orgeron was up for being promoted to be the full-time coach. USC thought he was too simple. It wouldn't work with him. To be a real first-time head coach, we don't want a guy who's getting his experience on the job. What did he do? He wanted to go to LSU and put together one of the greatest teams in the history of college football with Joe Burrow at the lead. Okay, and USC missed out on that. We completely blew on that because we wanted somebody more sophisticated who didn't maybe have Southern twang, who maybe had a different.
What you're saying, Marvin, is he didn't fit Pat Hayden's sweater around the neck, wine in one hand, cheese in the other hand.
Exactly. Listen, man. Listen. We 100%, and the fact that the players, we've heard murmurs, of these guys may bounce. Listen. We're hearing that this thing could fall apart if this guy isn't given the job. I'm not talking about the tail wagging the dog. This is not what this is. This is Lincoln showing us that he's been making the right moves. And when it's time to promote from within, he has people in the building who are ready for that moment. And when you look at the way these guys played and you look at his resume already, and you look at the fact that he's interviewed, and I'm certain he went to an interview prepared. Listen, I've definitely changed my thoughts on this. I've thought about it more, and I've gotten different perspectives on this. And it's, to me, it is the right hire. You hire from within, Lincoln. You hired a guy who you brought in. You hired the guy who Aaron Donald claims was a reason part of his success. You hired a guy who can inspire these young kids, who can inspire the kids who he already has relationships with. You know what I mean? So that makes sense. These guys don't want 90-year-old Gary Patterson who hasn't coached, since the McKay. They don't want that. That's not what they want. It's not about giving. It's not about appeasing kids. It's not about that. We've already seen the evidence. Again, with so many players out of that TCU game, our guys were flying around. And again, the biggest name that before they said it on TV, before any of the experts said it, I'm looking at Desmond Stevens. Like, where you been? Where you been all year? You know what I'm saying? And he's happy. He may play this year. Desmond's gonna be okay. But it's a no to me now. I look at it more as a no-brainer. Bring that. Don't let him go. Don't let Henny go to another program and be an Ed Orgeron, because I think that's what's
gonna happen. So here's my quick question for you. Give me a quick answer. Why haven't they announced it yet? Why are they waiting for the transfer portal to be closed and then waiting the extra 24 to 36, 48 hours because of the Martin Luther King holiday? Everything might not be settled until around Wednesday when everything is official. What is he waiting for?
In my opinion, I think, and I don't know if they consider Gary Patterson a big name or whatever it may be. I think that Lincoln I think he's overthinking this. I think they're thinking too big. And I don't mean big in regards to, standards and resume. I think they're just overthinking this situation. I think we have our guy in the building. I do. And again, I go back to, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. All you heard, I pay attention to this kind of stuff. Notre Dame people saying, we don't know if we want to hire him because it'll be his first time being a head coach in college football. This is Notre Dame. We don't want you practicing on the job. He looks pretty good to me right now. Okay, he looks pretty good to me.
NFL jobs right now.
Yeah. So listen, and he was on their staff for a little bit. The previous coach obviously had hired him. Developing that culture. Henny's our guy. Yeah, Henny is our guy, y'all. And again, I'm just thinking Orgeron, and that's the situation we're looking at right now. If we don't hire him as the DC, he will go to another program. And he would do exactly what I anticipate he'll do at USC, and that's be a great defensive coach.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just wondering why they haven't done it yet. Because
listen, this generation, they're all into analytics. Lincoln's a younger dude. You know what I'm saying? I come from 3 yards on a cloud of dust. To me, the game is that simple. That's what it comes down to. You get low and you go. That's my school of thought. You know what I mean? You attack. Don't make this thing complicated. Who inspires the players? Who can put the players in the right position? Who can get them playing fast? We already saw it in the bowl game. The players have already come out and told you this is the guy that inspires us. And we lost the game, and I hate the 3rd and 20 missed tackles by 4 different dudes. Anyway, but this is a dude that gets it done for them. I think this is the guy. I do.
All right. I'm going to let you redirect your energy. We're going to in the next segment. Usually this is something I would say for a Friday rant. But after what I experienced Saturday at USC's basketball game against number 5 Purdue, I ain't waiting till Friday. I got some words. USC fans, you better get in gear, is all I'm going to say. You were embarrassed. You were embarrassed over the weekend. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done by a trusted professional, local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect with one online. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app, which is a huge time saver, and it gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it for you. If a TurboTax expert, check this out. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, then for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. All in. That's it. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, so I kind of leaned into it at the end of the second segment there. The other day, I was at Galen Center. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Marvin. There's no other way for me to say it. And I've talked about this before, way before USC joined the big conference. I said, you know what? Long story short, USC fans, they're going to be taught a lesson on what it means to support your teams. Football, basketball. Purdue, number 5 team in the country, right? Coach Musselman has been doing everything he can to promote the basketball program, to create an environment where fans want to show up. Saturday, 3 p.m. tip-off, number 5 team in the country is showing up. You've got your own team is 14-3, USC. They're having a great season. They were undefeated out of conference. I show up there, and the crowds. First thing I see is I'm walking from the parking lot to Galen Center, the lab, McKay's restaurant. It is packed in black and gold. It looked like a tailgate, and there were no USC fans. And then you get closer to game time. Galen Center starts filling up. They said the reported attendance was 8,600 people. Galen Center holds 10,500, roughly, somewhere around there. 8,000 of those fans in the arena were Purdue fans. It felt like Mackey Arena West. They play at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. It was embarrassing. USC, the team jumps out to a 22-8 lead. 4 of your best players are either hurt or unavailable to play in the game because they're sick or injured. USC ended up losing the game at the end. Would the crowd have helped? I don't know. Maybe. But I'll tell you what, had USC won the game, they lost the game 69-64. Had they even won the game, there wouldn't have been enough USC fans to storm the court. It was that embarrassing. The band was being drowned out by a louder boiler up chant by the Purdue faithful. Marvin, look, I know you're a football guy. Mm-hmm. And when you went to USC, the sports arena was the place to be for USC basketball. But let's take basketball out of the equation. USC fans don't show up to sporting events unless it is a monster game. Even when Michigan came to town, it was kind of like 60-40 in favor of USC. This is not something out of the, it's not unusual. Why are USC fans like this? Why are they such a bandwagon group?
Well, Mark, first of all, let's tell the truth about that 14-3 record, okay? I haven't seen. I'm USC everything: golf, tennis, swimming, water polo. I'm USC everything. With that said, I haven't watched a lot of USC basketball this year, but I did watch those games when they went to Michigan. All right, and what I believe is, I'm just Mark. If we're gonna tell it, we got to tell it. Okay, we're gonna say it, we got to say it. This is locked on. We got to tell the truth, right?
All right.
We went to Michigan and it was bad. Michigan State, it was bad. It was real bad. Okay.
They had that check winning overtime at Minnesota. Don't leave that one out.
No, listen, Mark, I'm with our boys, man. I'm with the boys. Trust me, I'm with these Trojans, but I got to tell the truth. So I think a lot of fans, number one, see this as fool's gold in regards to their wins. And let's just be honest, Mark, this isn't Tuscaloosa. This isn't, Tallahassee. This isn't Charlottesville. This is Los Angeles, okay? And if the Trojans aren't doing great and the fans, aren't feeling that, they have 1,001 other options that they can do. And I know we want to hear that. We don't want to hear that.
Well, we don't. But this is 1,001 things you can do every other week when USC's not in town playing the game. You want to go to the beach? Wait till next week. I'm talking about a game against a top 5 opponent.
I hear you, man. Listen, I can't speak on that. It's LA fans. I can't say LA fans because they go all out for them Lakers.
Lakers fans show up, win or lose. Dodger fans, 3 million every single year.
Right. Listen,
USC, I want to focus on USC fans.
I understand. We need to. I think what I've seen, at least from, I can speak more from the football part of it, and you mentioned that earlier. When USC is really good and the fans truly believe that they're good, then they show up. Every USC fan saw what I saw in Michigan. Our team is not ready. Our team is not real at this point. Our team is not gonna. I was asking you early in the preseason, how do we look? Final Four, Sweet 16? Are we gonna go to the tournament?
I said tournament. I said they're a tournament team.
Mark, listen. I hope these boys turn it around. At the end of the day, SC fans, especially for basketball, which is a second sport at USC, it's all about football at USC. Sure. You really have to have star players on the team and you got to be competitive, got to be good. I don't think the fan base believes in the basketball team right now, period. That's just what it comes down to. And if they don't believe in it, they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up to watch another team who's really good, blow us out. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what the final score was, but that's just what it is, man. You got to have a star player. You got to have a good team. If not, you have other basketball options.
I'm not asking for a sellout every week. I'm not asking for 8,000 fans on a weeknight game. But don't tell me that 5,000 fans can't show up on the regular. And we're talking about this game was not on a Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Mm-hmm. This was a Saturday, 3 p.m.
That's the problem. That's the problem, Mark. They can go see the Lakers. They can go see the Lakers or the Clippers or the Sparks. What are you talking about? They have hardcore basketball fans who love USC also have pro teams. They're on a Saturday in LA. Come on, they have 1,000 options other than seeing their favorite team get blown out.
Saturday in LA, USC football is playing. Why do they average 55 to 60,000? Why do they downsize the Coliseum from 92K down to 77.5? Because they wanted to make it look like there was more fans in the stadium. Look, I know we can go round and round on this, Marvin. I'm with you for the most part, but until you prove it to me otherwise, USC fans in general are bandwagon fans. I saw them show up en masse during the Pete Carroll years. I had Bruce Willis standing behind me in the herd because the sidelines are so packed with fans.
I wouldn't say that at all. I wouldn't say bandwagon. That's not what I would say at all. I think that our fan base is as hardcore as any fan base. It's just when you live in the West Coast, you live in LA, Southern California, your life is different. What you can do on a Friday, Saturday is different. It just is. It's this again in Tuscaloosa. All they have is football on Saturdays. When football on Saturday is done, that city is dead for 9 months. Mark, you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing out there.
You know where Penn State is located?
In the middle of the state, Happy Valley.
How in the hell do you get 110,000 people showing up every single week in the middle of?
It's in the middle of Pennsylvania. They have nothing out there but mooses and cows.
They don't live there. They don't live there. They drive from Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, from New Jersey. They drive in from all over the place.
There's nothing happening in Pennsylvania other than the Steelers and whatever's happening in Philadelphia.
I'll take you to another level. How can Florida University win championships in Florida and basketball? How can all the SEC schools have prominent football, basketball, baseball programs? USC used to be a baseball school.
Right. Yeah. We won the national title when I was in school. And we have more national titles.
They won the national title.
And we have more national titles than anybody else in baseball, for those who don't know that. But
hey, what? Can we get back to the World Series? Can we at least can we get to that level?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Mark. I hope we do. My heart is for the Trojans. For me, it's football first, and I feel like this. We get our football program on track where we need to. I think that impacts everything else.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there have been studies shown when you have a winning football team, all of a sudden your student body enrollment, you get the
that's a fact, right?
Look, I know I'm coming across really harsh right now, but I've seen this through the decades, and I'm tired of it. Well, let me say this. All we need is our own basketball arena. What does Lou Galen do? You win a Heisman Trophy. Here's the money. Thank you, Carson Palmer. Now go build that basketball arena, and the fans don't show up.
We have to win. We have to win games. Mark, I think honestly, I think a lot of fans saw what happened in Michigan and Michigan State and realized, okay, this ain't our year. It's just what it is, man. I don't think it's bandwagon as much as it is. Mark, me and you were diehards. Me and you we love this thing like it's USC. It's our family. It's like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody isn't on that level, and I'll be honest with you. So I know why it pisses you off because you're all in emotionally and you're vested. I mean, you do this for a living, so you're all in. I love USC way too much. People say my wife says that, but and my kids tell me that all the time. But it is what it is with me. USC football is my first love. My wife and kids are my greatest love. With that said, Mark, look,
close games can make the difference in a close game. Just because you're putting the pressure on the opposing team, but they're not hearing the boiler up as Purdue's taking the lead. They're hearing deep. Literally, when USC fans tried to start the defense chant, Purdue fans just said, "We're not. Hold my beer. Listen to this."
Right.
It was that. It was just.
If you want people to come, you got to win. Period. If you want, and you can't put USC basketball and USC football in the same conversation in regards to attendance. USC basketball has really never won. When Jeff Trepanier was there, when these guys were, they had a run to the Sweet 16.
They had their moments. Tim Floyd took them. Andy Enfield. They've had their moments. Bob Boyd just happened to coach in the wrong era. I mean, how are you the number 2 team in the country and you can't go to the tournament because you only get to invite the conference champion? And unfortunately, 24-2 being number 2 in the country doesn't work when UCLA is undefeated and number 1 in the country and they play in the same conference. So I hear you, Marvin. I feel you. I just had to get that off my chest. I was sitting there Saturday inside Galen, and it just got to a boiling point with me. It's like, this has got to stop. Coach Muss is doing everything in his power to make this happen. He's coaching his ass off. And if he can get his team healthy, they are a tournament team, Marvin. Are they a Final Four? No. Sweet 16? Maybe. So USC fans, support your program. I get it. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. That's a hard drive to get there. Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Figure it out. Figure it out. All right. That's it. That's my Monday vent. And I will have something to talk about on Friday as well. Marvin, before we get out of here, this isn't the only place you give your expertise. What other shows can people find you on during the week?
Well, first of all, you can catch me on social media, Marvin Powell III. You see my handle there, Marvin on the mic. Listen, I'm doing about 10 shows a week with the South Florida Tribune, 10 or 11. Yeah, 10 or 11. I mean, quite a few shows with the South Florida Tribune. I'm doing these shows 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. And we're talking football, college football, NFL football. We're talking college basketball, college football. I mean, really football and basketball for the most part, college and pro. And I'm loving it, doing a great job with Scott Morganroth. He's allowed me to get on there and just really speak my piece on different subjects. I'm plugging USC pretty much on every show for those who've watched. But yeah, the South Florida Tribune, check me out. We're on all the different platforms, and you can catch us on social media as well.
Can they catch a show on YouTube as well?
Absolutely, yeah. South Florida Tribune.
Mm-hmm. So there you go, folks. If you need more Marvin Powell III, now you know where to find him. He will be back on this show later this week. I'll be back again tomorrow with another episode. Maybe we'll have an update on the defensive coordinator. Maybe we'll have an update on the special teams coach. Maybe we'll know if USC's getting another linebacker. That's kind of floating out there. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.
Fight on.